Welcome to the Engineering Insights podcast. Our guest today is Cassandra Struc, who's an engineering degree apprentice at Proctor Gamble. Hi, it's great to have you.
Hi, great to be speaking with you.
So before we dive into the details about your apprenticeship, I did see that you go to St. Helens. I'm from MTS, the sister school. Were there any memories of joint activities between the two schools that you have?
So I know obviously CCF and FAB existed alongside MTs. I didn't do either of those, unfortunately, but I think they were just friends of friends. And then, I just ended up knowing people from MTs, also the school musicals. Not sure if you've ever been in them or watched them, but those were always great fun. I also wasn't an actor. Watching them was fine for me. It was just kind of friends of friends and connections. And that's how I got to know people from MTs as well.
So when you were at St. Helens, what were your A-levels that you chose?
I chose maths, physics and English lit, and I started with French as well, but I dropped that after a couple of months because, four is quite a lot.
Yeah. Why do you think you chose English literature, considering, it's not the typical STEM route?
Yeah, it was honestly, choosing A-levels was such a roller coaster ride for me. I initially wanted to do Mandarin, French and maths. But my school, I was the only person doing Mandarin, so they said, no, that's not, you can't do that. And in hindsight, that was the best thing. But I kind of just decided to do English lit because I was good at it. And honestly, I enjoyed it, I think, a lot more than anything else. I definitely wasn't planning on doing biology or chemistry, which would seem more suited given that I did maths and physics. But at the end of the day, A-levels is kind of about doing well. So I thought I'd be covered for engineering with maths and physics, and then to get good grades, I should do something that I'm actually good at, which happens to be English lit. Yeah.
Do you think that, I guess, some of the analysis skills that you learn, aside from, the technical kind of things that maths and physics teach you, do you think they help you now?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, English lit teaches you to be very analytical, and it also teaches you to express your own thoughts about something in a constructive way. So obviously we were writing a lot of essays, and it really helped me to see a different point of view with things. And with engineering, that comes in the form of problem solving. Yeah. So in my job now, I can kind of use my English lit skills to, look at problems a certain way and then think, maybe let me look at it from a different angle. And then also, because I'm at uni as well, there is writing that I have to do. So the writing skills always come in handy there as well. I think a lot of engineers potentially lack in that department in terms of writing skills. So I found it definitely quite helpful and beneficial to be doing a language subject. Well. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I guess that must have also helped with applications as well. What was the application process like for your degree apprenticeship?
Yeah, so the first thing to say is it's not through UCAS. It's something you definitely have to go out and find on your own. There is a page on UCAS now where you can find degree apprenticeships, and that's how I found my one. But it was very busy because you have to get your CV to speed and make that acceptable for employers. You can't have it too long, you can't have it too short. So I had a lot of help from my dad on that, actually. And then some applications required like a screening test. So my one at P&G required screening, and it was kind of like non-verbal reasoning games almost. Honestly, I thought after that, I was like, I'm not getting in, but it obviously didn't turn out that way. So there were quite a few of those. Some companies asked questions in their initial form, like situational questions like, oh, what would you do in this situation? Or something like, describe a time when you solved a problem or stuff like that. Yeah. So that was the the application process. It's just something you have to look for yourself. You just have to go into Google or go onto job recruitment sites and just type in what you want. It's not something that just comes up. I have seen, though, in this past year that a lot are now being posted on LinkedIn, which makes things a lot easier in terms of applying. I don't ever remember seeing them on LinkedIn when I started doing applications. So I think that's a new thing. But I think it's definitely becoming more accessible in terms of finding them in the first place.
It's also being promoted a lot more in schools these days as well, compared to just doing a degree.
Yeah, that's good, actually, because St. Helens, I'm not sure how MT's was, but St. Helens was very much a university culture. Like university is the next step, no question. So I've really had to dig around and ask for help. And Mrs. Downham, who's the head of futures at St. Helens, she was really, really great in writing me a reference because, applying with a reference just makes it just solidifies your character a lot more.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's great to hear that they're being more widely spoken about in schools, because it's still a fairly new thing.
Mm-hmm. Did you also apply to universities through UCAS, or did you just solely go through the degree apprenticeship route?
Yeah, I applied to uni as well. And to anyone who is thinking about doing a degree apprenticeship, I would recommend applying to both, purely because it gave me an option to fall back on in case I didn't get the degree apprenticeships. I applied to 10, but I know people that have applied between a range of 1 and 27 degree apprenticeships. It really depends on who you are and what jobs are near you. But I applied to uni as well because I didn't want to be left hanging come August. And I've got my results, but then I don't have any degree apprenticeship offer, but then I don't have any uni offers, and then I'd be forced into a gap year, which is something I did not want to do. So yeah, I applied actually for aerospace engineering at uni and got offers from Bristol, Brunel and Loughborough, and was going to go to Bristol. But then my P&G offer came up and I thought that's too much of a great offer to pass up on. So I chose to do that instead.
So then why did you prefer manufacturing engineering over aerospace?
I honestly didn't know what manufacturing engineering was. I didn't even know it really existed. But then I found out that it's very similar to mechanical, and mechanical is kind of the umbrella engineering that aerospace comes under. Before I started my job, I didn't really know what I'd be doing. So just a quick overview now. I'm in the molding and plastics team, and we're responsible for ensuring the processes that make all the plastic components on Gillette razors. We are just responsible for making sure those run, basically. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it now. It is basically mechanical engineering, I would say. And I've also realized that I think I was shooting a bit too far doing aerospace. To be honest, I don't even know why I chose it. I think I did some personality tests at some point when they suggested aerospace engineering. I was like, oh, okay, cool. But but I realized, going to uni, that I think me personally, I would have really, really struggled with aerospace engineering, because part of the reason why I took English literature is because languages and linguistics comes a lot more naturally to me than maths does. But I wanted to do engineering, so I kind of forced myself to get good at it. But yeah, I've realized now that I think, honestly, manufacturing engineering is a much better position for me to be in than aerospace. Because I just think I really would have struggled and not enjoyed it in the end.
And then when you were at school, did you do any work experiences that helped you know that you wanted to do engineering?
Yeah, I did a course run by Leonardo, which is like a defense company in helicopters and aviation. They ran a Royal Institute course, which I found out about through St Helens, actually. And it was like a 6-week course. We go to Luton every, Saturday or Sunday or something. And there'd be a different kind of niche topic that we would learn about. And I remember what initially made me interested about aerospace engineering in particular was we did this session on wings and aerodynamics. And I thought that was really, really interesting. And we kind of modeled these wings and put them in a wind tunnel. And I just remember that being super interesting. But the entire course was about just different parts of engineering. Like one day we did coding. We coded facial recognition software or something. It didn't end up working, but cool experience nonetheless. But apart from that, I shadowed the head of digital engineering at the National Composites Centre in Bristol. I shadowed him for a day. And there I learned a lot more about engineering process and like kind of engineering life cycle from cradle to grave, how a product comes from conception to, a finished thing. And that was really interesting. And I got to visit the shop floor as well. And just seeing the scale of the machines there was just, unreal. So comparatively to other people, I didn't do too much, but I did enough to make me interested in it.
Yeah. And then when you put that on your CV to show these companies, is that kind of the big thing that you have to show if you want to do a degree apprenticeship?
Experience is definitely important, but I think that companies will recognize that you are still young. If you're applying from school, you're still young, and they know that you've either been in school or been in college or been in whatever. So they know that obviously that is going to take up much time. I think in terms of your CV and sending those off to companies, the most important thing to get across is your character. Talking about experience, even if it's minimal, is showing something like enthusiasm for the subject and then hey, you did this experience. What did you take away from it?
Yeah.
What did you learn? What has that then driven you to do? You can even do a research paper or do a MOOC or something and write that on your CV. I wrote down a couple of MOOCs that I did.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to be honest, I didn't even finish all of them, but I did enough to show that I was interested in it and that I'd learned stuff from it that I want to build on in a degree apprenticeship setting. So yeah, I would say character is definitely the most important thing to get across in your CV, even if you don't have much experience.
And then you could also show that through things like sports or extracurriculars, things like that.
Yeah, exactly. So I did I still kind of now do competitive swimming. And if you kind of address that in a way that shows how your character and your values have developed, then you're getting across, oh, you know, she or he has been doing whatever sport for 6 years, should we say. They're committed, they're determined, they'll persevere.
Yeah.
And that's what they get from that. So, you know, you could be saying, oh, you do some random sport, but what's really important is that you've actually been committed to that and you can bring that commitment to the company.
Keeping up with competitive swimming must be quite a big commitment.
Yeah. It was.
A lot of people I've talked to about who've been kind of considering degree apprenticeships, their biggest concern is, you know, keeping up with university, but then also work and their personal life. So would you say that's a big challenge for you or not really?
It definitely was. It definitely was. I'll go back a bit and I'll go back to kind of end of year 13. So that's when I stopped swimming as much as I was, just because I had to focus on studying and getting those grades at the end of the day. And then I started work and I started uni and I was still wanting to swim. And I also wanted to make friends. That's a really big thing. And at first I was like, oh my gosh, this is so much. I don't know how to manage my time. I don't know how to meet up with my friends. Everyone else I know is busy doing something else. How am I going to do it? But what you have to realize is you have to make it work. And I know that sounds so blasé and nonsense, like, oh yeah, we have to make it work. But I was isolating myself because I was like, oh, I've got work in the morning. I can't do anything this evening. But if you think about it like that, you're just never going to live your own life because you've got work every day. I mean, ultimately, when you start a degree apprenticeship, you're putting yourself in the world of work from, you know, a lot earlier on than most of your peers. So you have to also become that adult very quickly. So, yeah, I mean, my uni works out to about a week a month. And the uni work that I've been getting hasn't necessarily overpowered work. So that kind of divide has been fine, not really difficult. But if we talk about sports and socially, I swim either late in the evening 2 times a week or early in the morning 1 day a week. So enough for me to keep it going, but not as much as I used to. And then in terms of socializing, you just have to put yourself out there on those evenings or on the weekends and just go and do something, whether it's catching up with a friend or maybe going for a colleague's work dinner, because ultimately the closest people are going to be your colleagues. So obviously you're not going to be like best buds with them, but you want to be friendly enough so that you can, let's go to the bar after work or something and just relax. And then you keep up your friendships that you've had before as well. And you just, honestly, the calendar app will be your best friend. Just send those meeting invites and say, yeah, we're doing this on this day. Can't wait to see you. You just have to make it work.
And then I've heard that certain degree apprenticeships, they take quite a large number of students. Is there that kind of social cycle or that network that you get from all the people joining after A-levels?
So at my company, they only took 2 on, and that was including me. And it's the first year that they've ever done it. So they're not necessarily going to be opening that up every year. They're going to kind of wait to see how we do and then open it back up. I can't imagine a reason why they wouldn't. So I think it will definitely happen. But from that perspective, it was a little difficult because everyone around me was significantly older, should we say. And the guy who I work with, he's 26. So there's a bit of a age gap there as well. But because you spend so much time with everyone, you just really start to get along with them. Like now, the guy that I work with, although there's an age difference, we're actually really good friends as well as colleagues, which I think is quite nice. But also in my company that we have interns that come in every summer, and then there's like placement year interns as well. And they obviously tend to be around 20, 21. So I can get along with them as well and make friends with them, given that we are similar ages and we are in similar situations than someone who's working full time. I do know, however, that at other companies, they hire a lot more. So a friend of mine works at Arup, and he said that in his year they took on 40 people or something.
Wow.
So he's got people his age around him a lot more than I do. It's just really subjective. It's just how much you put yourself out there in the company as well.
Yeah.
Like I've joined the sustainability newsletter, so I've met people through that, and then they have a book club as well. So I've joined the book club.
Yeah.
And you just kind of try and get along with people that way. Obviously, it's a bit different because they're older than you, but it's also kind of nice because it's like mature people that you can get along with that can also kind of be fun, but it's not like, you can just be a bit more mature, which I personally enjoy. It's not for everyone, obviously, but it's really just what you make of it and how much you put yourself out there.
Having spoken to those interns that you mentioned, would you say that from like a professional standpoint, that choosing to do a degree apprenticeship put you in a better position than them coming from university and taking like a placement year in their third year?
That's a great question because, a lot of adults say to me now when I say, I do a degree apprenticeship, they're like, oh, if I had that opportunity when I was younger, I'd definitely do it. It is definitely a great opportunity because it gives me 4 years work experience from a very respectable company, which sets me in a very good stead when I reach the end of it, which for me personally is 4.5 years. And I'll have work experience, I'll have skills, I'll have been paid as well, which is great, and no debt, which is fabulous as well. I love that. And I don't know how it works at other companies, but most companies will want to take you on full time after that. So my contract says that if I do like all my uni stuff and basically, if I don't mess up, then I'll be offered a job. So having that security and knowing that in 4.5 years' time, when I've graduated, I'm going to be offered a full-time job at the age of 22 in a very big company, that's really like reassuring. And especially in this, what I've noticed as years go on is that you can get all the masters and undergrad degrees that you want, but it's still, and great degrees as well, like in STEM, in humanities, whatever. But a lot of companies are now saying that people come out of uni and they're just not ready for work, or they're very inexperienced. So people who are very qualified for their role are not being offered jobs and are not being able to find jobs because the demands are changing. Like because degrees have become so, I'm not going to say easy to get, like but a lot more common. It's more difficult to find a job. So the fact that I've put myself in this position now where I know I will be solid for 4 years and for my whole life after that, hopefully, that is really, it's just, I think it's a lot of stress taken off my shoulders. And also like it's a great achievement. Anyone that gets it, they're one in a few. And putting yourself in that position where you will start your pension at 18, it's just, I sound so old saying that, but it's just, I think you're putting yourself in a very good stead by doing that. It's not necessarily more or less so than the interns that come in because they only come in for a short amount of time. But I think it's just long-term goal-wise, you've put yourself in a better position than perhaps someone who is only doing it for a year or so.
So I saw that the university that you go to currently is Aston University. Is that something that Proctor Gamble select for you, or is it something that you also have to apply for alongside the apprenticeship?
So P&G chose that university, and so you do kind of have to get into the university, but if your company has already given you the offer of the degree apprenticeship, there's not really much room for the uni to say no to you, if you get what I mean. So I didn't have to do a separate application for Aston. I was kind of automatically enrolled when I got my offer from P&G. But to be honest, they didn't have much to choose from because degree apprenticeships are not really super common in the UK still. And there's not many mainstream unis, shall we say, that offer them, especially for engineering.
And also it's the first year you said the P&G are doing this.
Yeah, exactly. So in coming years, I mean, based on our feedback, they might change the uni, who knows? But especially for engineering, it's mainstream unis don't really do it. Like, to be honest with you, I hadn't even heard of Aston before I applied to P&G. But I know each company will like look through all the programs available and choose what one is best for their needs. So I mean, I didn't have to apply to the uni on my own. I was automatically enrolled, but I still had to kind of be assessed and get in. But either way, I would have gotten in because at the end of the day, the company is the main decider.
Earlier, you spoke about how at the end of the 4.5 years, P&G basically, well, gives you a job. Would you want that? Or where would you want to see yourself in those 4.5 or even 5, 6, 10 years ahead?
Mm. This is such a difficult question for me at the moment. I've been, a lot of people have been asking me. I think being offered the job would be amazing, but I know that I definitely want to do a master's at some point. I don't know if that will be directly after my undergrad or if I'll wait a few years. I also don't know if I want to kind of take a year out and, live a bit of life first before I, accept full-time job offer. I think it's hard to say now whether I would, stay in the company for my whole life or if I'd maybe move around a bit, because I don't necessarily know exactly what it is I want to do. And there's so many routes that I can take, especially with engineering. Engineering opens so many doors. So P&G is a fantastic company to be in. And also there's a lot of gateways that I could go into within the company. Yeah. Like you've got the 7 business units, which are kind of categories of the different products that P&G produce. So for example, I'm in grooming, which is all the Gillette stuff. And then there's all the hair care, all the skin care, all the baby and feminine care, etc. And then you've got all the legal side and the corporate side and marketing. There's so many gateways I can take. So I think I definitely wanted to do a master's. And then I can't imagine a reason right now why I would ever say no to the offer. But yeah, tough question for right now because I'm just not quite sure what it is I would do. But
and you only joined last year, right?
Yeah, September last year.
Yeah. Well, as a final question, what is the number one biggest piece of advice to someone, I don't know, in the A-levels, starting engineering, or just even starting thinking about going into STEM?
STEM in general, like whether it's at uni or... Okay. Oh, that's a good question.
Save the tough one till the end.
Yeah. The one thing I would say, and the thing I think I maybe fell a bit down on, was make sure you are 100% up to speed with basics and foundational stuff. And I know that sounds obvious, like, oh yeah, of course, you start from the beginning and build up. But if you don't put the work in to understand the basics of whatever it is you're learning, whether it's biology, chemistry, physics, maths, engineering, whatever, if you don't understand the basics and you just keep learning more and more without having a full grasp on the initial building blocks, you're really, really going to struggle, I think. And that's not to scare anyone, obviously, but it just makes life so much more difficult because everything else past then is just so difficult to understand because you don't have that initial foundation. Yeah. So I would say just make sure you know the really basic stuff before you start getting onto the difficult things. And that's the same for A-levels. If you don't understand the basics of topics in A-levels and you just keep learning and keep building on it, you're just gonna find it a lot more difficult than you need to, I think. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I would say. Just take the time to smooth out all the rough edges in the foundation stage. Well, thank you for that. Thank you for coming. It's been great to have you. Yeah, thank you so much. I wish you the best of luck with the rest of the interviews as well as the podcast.